What is up, YouTube? What's going on, guys? Ooh, the claw. Guys, Steve Cambion's live right now and talking about Bob Lazar over at his YouTube channel. And, I just wanted to go live with Dan because a lot of this is research that, we did 10 years ago. And we did more research. You can find all of it on boblazardebunked.com. This website that I kind of threw together with some of the research that I've been compiling over the last 10, 15 years, doing research into Bob Lazar and everything Bob Lazar talked about or did or ever put out, and all his sources, every piece of data or evidence or information that he ever talked about or put forward, tracked down like a bloodhound, sourced. And it's good that this stuff's finally coming out in the age of disinformation and misinformation and all this, nonsense, guys. They're taking down so many old Joe Rogan Spotify episodes because of the misinformation and disinformation, apparently. So they're going through and removing all these old, all the old, Spotify. Tons of stuff's already been removed from YouTube, but they're going through and removing stuff from Spotify all the time. Yet this episode number 1315, Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell on the Joe Rogan Experience, got over like 2 million, 3 million views, something ridiculous. And it's still running hard, man. It's still up there, despite the fact that it contains tons of misinformation and disinformation and false and dubious claims. Man, where do we begin with this? So, you can waste hours and hours on this Bob Lazar case. I know that me and my guests tonight have. Dan Benkert is with me, and he's done, we started researching Bob Lazar pretty hard about 10, 12 years ago with a friend of ours named Ed Fouché. Edgar Fouché was a Area 51 employee, confirmed. We even asked former head of the road runners, right? So Area 51's Special Projects has this website you can go to called Road Runners International, right here. It's in the links in the description beneath this video if you guys want to look this up. But I told you we're going to talk about Bob Lazar. We're going to debunk some of the mythology and some of the rumors and stuff, and then we're going to really dive in and show you guys some of the real stuff, because we're not shills, so not work for the government, and I've been researching this crap a hell of a lot longer than any of you. And if you think differently, then come on the friggin' show, and I'll post the StreamYard link later so you guys can join after the hour's up. So stay tuned. We do real stuff. We talk about real information on this channel, and we share. Sometimes it's like education, but sometimes you got to get educated, because you can't just believe this. If it's too easy and too simple for you to understand, like Bob Lazar's physics videos, the videos that he made back in the day on the UFOs and the government Bible, which is a phrase he stole from UFO Live TV from 1998, the year before. We cover that on boblazardebunked.com. Go to the facts page, right down the bottom. Actually, it's right on the main page, right down the bottom. That UFO TV Live, the UFO Cover Up Live, 1988. Watch that whole thing if you got the time, if you really want to dig into the Bob Lazar case, because this was aired on national television a year before Bob Lazar came out with his story. And a lot of the same little bits and pieces of elements from the UFO lore and literature that go back, all the way to Betty and Barney Hill, the UFO first popular UFO abduction case, on record. And that happened right here in New Hampshire, the next state, a couple states up for me. Now I'm here in Rhode Island. But anyways, Lots of interesting stuff that we could talk about. Lots of stuff being covered, has been covered on the show already. Being talked about right now by Steve Cambion and his guest. This guy, Dan. What can you tell me about this guy that he's got on right now?
Sorry,
okay.
It's kind of weird, man. This guy called me on the phone a couple of times. He got my phone number from Michael Schratt. As soon as I kind of heard his voice, he called me at work, man, at like 11 o'clock at night. So I'll call you when I get home. I spoke to him a couple of times. I recognize the accent. And he knows Victor. I totally respect Victor Caliero. But if you're going to go and talk to me on the phone for like 3 and 4 hours, 2 or 3 different times, and I keep telling you, go to boblazardebunk.com, go to boblazardebunk.com, go to boblazardebunk.com. Me and Jeremy did that. Me and Jeremy put the work in. Then you go on a show and act like you're the Bob Lazar expert, dude. I'm going to call you out on it. You ain't shit. You just read everything him and I have done. We put the legwork in on this. I'm the one that started talking to John Lear. Jeremy and me alone are guys that have know Gene Huff. No one knows Gene Huff. No one's ever been able to get to Gene Huff ever.
We penetrated the most central figures in this story, and Dan, you knew John Lear. You talked to him all the time, man. You were good friends with him.
He's just a little senile right now. Yeah, I knew John Lear since
he's been a little senile for the past 10, 15 years.
I've known him since 2002. I used to be his right hand.
I think that right when he met Bob Lazar is when he went downhill with a lot, because he was like, if you watch him on George Knapp the year before, if you go to those Mystery Wire episodes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can we find those? Let me find it. Mystery. What was it? Mystery Wire? No.
Yeah, man. That's George Knapp.
It was on the record. On the record.
I was going to say on the record. 1987 is when
Mystery Wire's his new gig.
Story before Bob ever came up with it. He said there was 15 UFOs at Area 51, and one of them was in perfect condition that they test flew it. That guy magically said that he came up with that on Steve Cambion's show. Bullshit, man. We did. Remember when I showed that?
Yeah, he said that he discovered it in the research. He's like, I discovered in the research, man. We put this out like 10 years. Like
we put this out years ago on websites.
This is all the old stuff.
I mean, the guy can.
I like that thing we did with the Bob Lazar inconsistencies. For like that video I put out as the spoof, the one that Jeremy Corbell flagged and almost got my channel completely taken down for with copyright strikes. Remember that?
Yeah, I'll never forget it.
So, anyways, Jeremy Corbell is a real.
He's a real pain in the ass.
None of the people who've worked with him have anything nice to say about him.
How about his fake flying pyramid story? It can't be a flying triangle. It's got to be a pyramid, because then that would make that would legitimize Ed Fouché now, wouldn't it? And they hate Ed and they say Ed's a liar, even though T.D. Barnes verified that Ed was at Area 51.
Well, he didn't verify. He did not verify, Dan. Let's get this straight, right? So we asked T.D. Barnes, who's actually T.D. Barnes is, if you guys go to the Roadrunners International here, he worked for EG&G, which is the contractor that does a lot of the scientific and technical research out at Area 51. That part, Bob originally said he just worked for. He didn't say EG&G. He said he worked for the Department of Naval Intelligence, right. Which it's not. It's no longer the Department of Naval Intelligence. That was closed in 1945, right after World War II, and it was replaced with the Office of Naval Intelligence, or the ONI. So this is a key point when I had Jim Goodall on the other night, and I asked him, about the discrepancies of the department, and he didn't even know the whole difference between the ONI and the Department of Naval Intelligence and that whole thing. And
well, that surprises me.
And that kind of surprised me, and also
maybe he didn't want to know it.
I don't know. I gotta get Jim back on and really.
Jim's awesome, man. I like Jim.
Because his memory might be failing him too. He's going through a lot of personal stuff in his life right now too. So
Jim's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He could be distracted and stuff, but I don't believe Bob Lazar.
You're going to say what T.D. Barnes said about Bob Lazar. T.D. Barnes said Bob Lazar was never at Area 51, but what he said about Ed was the next day when you emailed him, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, so he checked. So I had T.D. Barnes go after he came as an interview on my channel. Guys, you can go check out that interview on the Alien Scientist channel if you haven't seen that already. it's definitely worth the time to sit down and watch and pay attention to. I asked him all the key questions, all the real meat. He was very impressed with my knowledge and the questions that I asked. So TD said he'd be happy to come back on the show at any time and discuss this. He had a lot to say about the Nimitz encounters too, and what those he thinks those pilots are seeing out there.
Spoofing, yeah.
And the state and the current capabilities of electronic warfare technology within our military. And he had a lot of key things to say about Bob Lazar, because I asked him straight, I asked him straight up on the show, I didn't get to ask him about Ed Fouché. I did ask him about Ed Fouché, but he said, I'm going to need some time to look into this and check into it. Right.
Yeah.
But he straight up said Bob Lazar never worked out there. He's a liar. He's a hoaxer. He's full of crap.
I loved it.
When Bob Lazar was on that documentary and he said, you really think they hired me, to work at Los Alamos straight out of high school? And the answer is fuck no. They hired you straight out of Pierce Junior College because you went to Pierce Junior College and you had some electronics courses under your belt and a little bit of physics background, and a little bit of knowledge, enough to throw around in front of people who know nothing and pretend like you know something, right? But in the reality, like he does not have the knowledge, and I challenge and we've done the open challenge to Bob. Like he doesn't appear in public interviews. He hasn't done a public question and answer session that's open to like anyone can answer, right? Anyone can ask a question. He hasn't done one of those since Rachel, Nevada in 1993. Remember that?
Yeah. And another thing too you got to remember is Bob was hired by Kirk-Meyer Corporation to work at Los Alamos. Kirk-Meyer Corporation never hires physicists. Physicists are hired directly through Los Alamos. That's why his name said K/M through the phone book. And you would have a phone book with the guy's name in it. Anybody that's in a department, because of emergencies and stuff like that, your name's going to be in the 80s. Nowadays, everybody has a cell phone. You just click a button and boom, you can text them if you work somewhere like that. When you work somewhere like that, it's got 10,000 employees. It's like a little city,
they have to keep it organized. So there's people whose jobs it is to do that, just because it's so confusing and it gets so complex.
Colonel John Alexander was working there at the time Bob Lazar was there. He said Bob was a nothing.
Bob's always said, he can offer more information if he gives a talk to the technical community, and he supposedly had.
You've offered on APEC, man. He never shows up, never.
And the offer still stands to show up on APEC to a team of real scientists, real physicists who can
blow the myth, bro. That's why he'll never show up.
Expose the myth, dude, because he's just entry level. He's bullshitter. For real. And you talk to anyone who knows anything about the real science and the real physics, and the people that we've exposed on this channel and really talk about, like if Bob Lazar was legit, then I would be the first to like show you the proof. And I've researched this case. Ed Fouché is the one actually got us into.
He really got us going, didn't he? Yeah,
man, the guy worked at Area 51, and he's like, well, when I first came out and started talking about the programs that I worked on out there, I got a lot of attention, and I the UFO community basically, when I started talking to them about this Bob Lazar guy, they assured me, Bob Lazar is legit. He's 100% legit. So Ed went along with the whole Bob Lazar thing, not realizing,
Bob was a big money machine back then. That's why
he's always been.
Him. He still is. It's 24 million views on Joe Rogan. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Jesus.
And they won't cover the debunking. They'll say, oh, we're taking down all the episodes that have misinformation or disinformation in them, but they won't take down this one, and they won't. Joe Rogan's completely ignores the subject. He doesn't talk about it anymore. He's like, oh yeah, we covered UFOs, right? We got Bob Lazar on. Right?
He's read your Twitter tweets,
dude. He's Joe Rogan. This is like I gotta get in touch with Tim, because you know what? When I was on Tim, I should have stood my ground, and I should have fucking laid into Joe Rogan on Tim Pool when I had the chance, and really called that motherfucker out. It's like, it
was your first time on the show, man. You kicked ass.
I was too timid.
You were a little nervous because remember Tim Pool was like, I can't believe Joe would make a mistake like that and believe somebody that's lying. It's like, dude, we've researched the guy for 20 years, man.
Bro, like, get me on. Like, you
Joe
have
was
no
being
idea who.
lied to at the guy, right? Right on the spot. They went to dinner, all that other bullshit. That's another thing too. If you know somebody and they're a friend of yours, you're not going to sit there. He became friends with them. You're not going to sit there and haggle the guy. I think the friendship portion kicked in, and then I think Joe Rogan was just biased by friendship. Or who knows, there might be another motive. I don't know. He promotes all that tic tac bullshit. All that tic tac crap is ours. I don't believe it's aliens. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
electronic warfare,
Yeah. So
counterintelligence,
Ed was one of the first
countermeasures.
electronic countermeasures. If you guys
Yep.
want to look up the terminology and really
Yeah.
learn about this stuff.
Ed always talks about
ECCMs is what the military, ECMs, right? So electronic countermeasures, and then they
Yep.
have ECCMs. Okay, so an electronic countermeasure would be radar. Okay, so we have a
Yes,
countermeasure to say, oh well, if people invade, we have the electronic station set up that tells us if planes are flying in our vicinity. So the electronic countermeasure is the radar. So the electronic countermeasure is the counter radar, right?
Yep.
And if you want to counter radar, what do?
Countermeasure.
Well, you build a radar station, and then you sit there and you fire electronics at it until you figure out what fucks with it, right?
It's also known as electronic warfare.
Yeah.
And guess where the electronic warfare range is, folks, off the coast of San Diego? Right where the Tic Tacs were seen. Yes. So what person better to show a Tic Tac to? Oh my God, let's use a Top Gun pilot.
Yeah.
Let's use a number of them. And then one of the reasons I say that is
they do a lot of this down in Norfolk, Virginia, and right off Virginia Beach.
Little Creek. Yep.
Yep.
Virginia Beach. The same stuff has been seen. The thing that I don't understand is there's no way we have radar that could track something that's going 80,000 miles an hour or something like that. So how did they know it went back to the cap point from 60 miles in a second? How do they know that was the same vehicle? How do they know that wasn't a different vehicle? Because at one point in time, I can't remember the one guy's name. He said it was raining UFOs. The one guy that it's really changed his life and messed him up. Damn it, what's his name? Sorry, I don't have it right now. I used to have
so the military has a huge electronic warfare and testing range and operations station here in the Bay in South Cal.
And all the radar
Island.
signatures that Princeton was seeing started right off San Clemente Island. Well, look down there at all the domes and stuff, or the radar domes and stuff they've got down there. This stuff, in my opinion, is visual electronic warfare that is basically like a hologram, but can give off the signature, a radar signature cross section, RCS, somehow. When you put trillions of dollars into defense, you're going to get something back for it. The electronic warfare community and the company that's involved with the electronic warfare, I'm not going to mention her name right now, but Victor Caliero, if he's out there, he sure as hell nailed it. He's 100% right on who it is. I can't say who it is. I don't want to put it out there. But it's all done off San Clemente Island, or even on ships off San Clemente Island. It might not even be done on there. They might have ships out in here doing it. But that whole area is the electronic warfare range for the Navy. And it's just funny that these things are seen.
It's right off a huge this is like the largest military base on the West Coast of the United States, Camp Pendleton.
Right. The Russians are never seeing this shit. The Chinese are never seeing this stuff. Although maybe the Russians might see it soon. Who knows? But the best person to test something like this on would be a Top Gun pilot. And you would never, ever let him know what it was, because there's something called compartmentalization. If you don't understand how compartmentalization works, they have no access or no reason to know why they're being used as guinea pigs ever. Maybe 30 years down the road, they'll be told the truth. I said, man, I don't believe that it's aliens or anything like that. It's us.
Oh yeah, and it goes back too. So this guy's like, we only use this tech to fake UFO sightings. Nah, they fake Bigfoot coming out of UFOs. They fake portals. They fake Jesus appearing in the sky. There's all kinds of stuff that the Project Bluebeam.
They've been doing it for a long time.
Another interesting thing, and we want to really talk about this and get into it. A lot of this started with the U.S. Air Force back in the 60s and 70s out of a place at the end of Montauk Island, which is the end of Long Island, New York. I'm going to take a trip out there. It's, it's
Maybe
right
me and my
close
girlfriend
proximity to
will
where I am. Of
be up
course,
there, bro.
unfortunately, I have to drive around the whole Long Island Sound, which adds about 3 or 4 hours to the trip to get out there. But
Sounds like fun, man.
we're going to take
Let's
a trip
go.
out there this spring, maybe
Let's do it,
spring,
man. I'll
summer.
meet you out there.
I want to get Walter Bosley, former Air Force OSI, to go out there
He's
with
the
us.
best, didn't he?
Yeah, he said when he goes on my show
Water
that he'd go
Bosley,
out
if you're
there with me.
come on, man. Come on the show.
Yeah, if he's out there,
We're
man,
lucky to know the people we know.
I'm gonna throw him a link right now on Facebook and see what he's doing, man.
Because he's right on the money with us, or we're on the money with him, I should say.
Dude,
Walter
Bosley's
Bosley,
amazing.
Air Force OSI intelligence. He's the real deal. I love his Roswell take too. I think he's right on the money.
Definitely one of the more plausible theories I've heard forwarded.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Walter, if you're out there, if you're not, he might be soon. Oh, he's seen it.
Yeah, he loves your channel, brother. He's gonna come on.
So yeah. So anyways, we're talking about this stuff. I'm going to take a trip out to this Montauk State Park in the
Where is
spring,
that, Jeremy? Is that on the end of Long Island or
It's
something?
on the very tip of Long Island, and this is
Looks like a beautiful place to go, man.
It's a beautiful little trip out there. There's lots of stuff to do in Long Island besides visit, defunct naval electronic warfare facilities. But this one's a cool trip to add to the map, and definitely something I want to go out there and take. It's right on the tip of Long Island too.
Be a nice bike ride for me.
It's just weird because like people are like, oh, what's on the very tip of Montauk? What's on the very tip of this island? And they find out that you can't go down there. You couldn't go down there all throughout the 70s. It was a military base.
So do you think they were doing electronic warfare down there?
They absolutely were. The Camp Hero Tower, it just shows just some of the stuff that they were doing.
I've heard of.
Look at the size of that tower.
Oh, wow.
That was a state-of-the-art transmitter and receiver back in 1960 when it was built.
Mm-hmm. That's not a missile interception system, is it?
It's different, So missile.
Yeah, I've never seen one shaped like that before. Look, it looks like it's got 3 layers. Do you have another picture of it?
They might have done some missile. They might have done some of that research there. How to
because they're pointed. If they're pointed towards
because missiles have an electronic guidance system, right? So what these people do is they collect the intelligence, or they figure it out. Where they basically they get a captured one of these, right? Or what they'll do is they'll make a mock-up of the Russian radar system. So they'll say the Russian radar is an STG, blah, 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 blah. And this is the contractor that manufactures it. And they'll go and send their spies in, collect the intelligence on how that piece of equipment is built. Then they'll build one here out at Area 51 or one of these other places. And then they'll just test it. They'll just test its capabilities and test its limitations and just put it to every, they basically all right, we know every little bit of how this works. Now, how can we hack it? Because we know how it works now. And that's how science and that's how computers and that's how hacking and all that stuff works. It's all you got to know the innards. And once you know the innards and you have all the inner pieces figured out and how they fit together, you just have to work your way through. And
one thing I wanted to mention too, if these Tic Tacs are real and it's actually a real threat, NORAD's been seeing them for many years, way before the Navy seen them. NORAD tracks anything that comes in and out of space and hits the ocean, hits the ground, whatever. If something's going 80,000 miles an hour, they can see it, believe it or not. They have the technology to see it. There should be satellite images of all this stuff. There should be, any number of other ways to identify that this stuff happened, than a Navy tape being hidden at the Pentagon somewhere. There's got to be some other FOIAs that can be filed. Like I said, NORAD would be the absolute place.
Well, that's all going to come out, man. And I think it's the reason that it's coming out there, and that there's, UFOs. If you look up all the UFO stuff, I mean, me and you have been researching UFOs for 20 years now. a lot of the UFO stuff historically has been used
Ludicrous.
as intelligence cover stories for top secret operations. The U-2 spy program, the
Mhm.
the spy plane that they were flying at high altitudes were giving off these. They basically they'd reflect the sun at certain angles, and they'd create these. People would see these balls of light that they'd be like, "What the heck is that?" And you know,
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be satellite images of this stuff. There has to be.
but if you go back to a lot of the electronic warfare technology and the history of it, it started here at Camp Hero at the U.S. Air Force MK Ultra Subproject 68. If you guys want to, get the nuts and bolts of this and really do the research, they did a lot of testing out there, a lot of capabilities, and then I think when that closed, and I'm going to put the story together and really do some research on it because I have just this vague theory on how it all fits together, and I really want to go through and document this historically. It's great. This is good historic research because this is mysteries, of history, because all this stuff was classified. There's this veil of secrecy surrounding it. We know they did, earlier electronic warfare technology research with the Philadelphia experiment, which was draped in a cloak of disinformation and obscurity about the reality of the electronic warfare research and degaussing and theory that they were testing out there on the USS Eldridge, versus the mythos and some of the less credible unscientific nonsense surrounding that too.
I think what's going on right here, Jeremy, is UFO Road Trip Part 2. Me, you, and Mike Schratt.
Hell yeah.
What's
And
that sound
Walter
like?
Bosley joining us, maybe.
Oh my God, Walter! I'll pay for you to fly out here,
We
buddy.
gotta get the UFO
Is
dream
Walter in
team.
the chat?
Nah, I don't know if he is. He didn't
Should
he
he
saw
loves
the
the show.
blink, but he might be watching. We'll see.
Oh, there's a few
We'll
of my
see.
buddies here.
He has a tendency to
Lord
sometimes
Ludicrous,
hide in the
Chris, what's up?
background. We'll see. But
What's up, April?
hey, shout out. We want to do a roll call. Everyone watching. We got almost 100 people watching.
What's
Where
up,
you
John
guys from?
Castrola? What's up,
And,
brother?
everyone just type where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
Location
Yeah.
wise. Worldwide. Roll call.
Shalom, my friend. Yes.
But yeah, Camp Hero is where I think a lot of this electronic warfare stuff started. You know where I think they moved it to?
Mm-hmm.
So let's think about this, right? If I was the U.S. Air Force and I was in intelligence and I needed to, test all this stuff that we're doing, like the ability to create, balls of light in the sky and that do weird things, and all these other technologies that I'm sure they developed, experimenting with lasers and all these other electronic warfare technologies.
Mm-hmm.
You needed a cover story of a good place with some, weird stuff happening there already, that you could blame it on, You'd probably choose like an ancient Indian, site. And I think that's why they moved that stuff. They had this whole legend. It was getting a lot of attention because, people wanted to go down to the end of the island. They saw it geographically. There should be an end of the island down here. And then when they suddenly get to the end and they're like, no, there's a military base down here and you can't really go down there. And people started being like, oh, what goes on at that military base? Why can't we go down there? And what's really going on down at the end of the island there? And, this is the whole mythos behind Stranger Things, the whole TV series. That started.
Yeah, they used to talk about the hybrid animals and stuff, right?
Oh God, that's a whole nother story, man. On all the other
but
stuff.
That's part of the cover.
That's right near, and that's right near the research that was going on, right? Because this is right near Lyme. This is right near Lyme, Connecticut. Okay, where Lyme disease originated, right?
Oh, really?
And that's like weaponized ticks because they were doing weaponized research with ticks.
Yeah,
weaponized. Blood sucking.
The government's behind Lyme disease.
Yeah, so the government could be behind Lyme disease too, because it's right near where a lot of this shit was going. It gets fucking crazy and deep. So, but yeah, I would love to. I want to really dig into that a little more. And know more.
I don't want to dig into Lyme disease, my friend.
I know that's another whole subject.
I won't ever make it home if I get that shit.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
think I think we're looking at another. I think we're looking at UFO road trip part 2, man. I want to go to Montauk. Let's do it. I can be there in 4
and then we
hours.
can go to Lyme, Connecticut, because I'm going to
How
be
long will it
stopping.
take you to
Look
get
at
there?
how close. Look at how close Lyme, Connecticut is to Montauk.
Hey, where's that? Where's them incredible waterfalls you told me about? That you can take me and my girlfriend to.
Oh, the best waterfall, and if you want to come
Yeah,
up and visit me, man, I mean,
yeah.
there's a couple. I mean, there's some waterfalls in Rhode
Love
Island and
them. She
around Rhode
loves
Island. I mean,
waterfalls, brother.
limited river systems, but the best one that you
You
want to
said
go
it's
to if you
incredible,
want to
right?
bring a girl is the Flume Gorge. All right, on the Daniel Webster Highway in Lincoln. It's probably a 4-hour drive from where I live in Rhode Island, but it's up in the White Mountains, just the bottom and the start of the White
Hmm.
Mountains here.
Oh,
You
that
got to go
looks
all the way up
bro.
93 though, not
So there's
95. You
hiking
go.
up there and stuff because that's what she likes to do, man. I got to get
Oh, if she
into it.
likes to hike, man, take her to
Yeah.
Lafayette, Mount Lafayette,
Well,
or
we'll all
Mount
do it,
Flume.
man. We'll camp out. Me, you, and your
I've
wife,
done
and
Mount Flume,
your
Mount
girl.
Liberty. That's a good hike, man. And Mount Lincoln, Mount Lafayette, those are both really great hikes. If you want a good first hike, Mount Lafayette. If you're up for like a more serious hike, you can do Mount Lafayette and Lincoln in the same day. I did Liberty and Flume in the same day in one loop, and then I did these two. I've done Cannon. Cannon's another great one. Cannon's really intense. It's like it's all just vertical. It's a real short hike because it just goes straight up. But it's real like intense hiking the whole way.
Yeah, I was gonna go to Niagara Falls, but we can do that anytime. This is a much more like special spot. You were saying you said
Lafayette's got a beautiful ridge on the final ascent to the ridge. It's got a real nice view up there once you get up there. The
I'd like
whole
to camp out way up there, man. Can you
Franconia
do
Notch.
that?
It's like this
Too
giant
dangerous.
notch, man. When you drive down 93 Franconia Notch right through here, it's like being in a whole nother world. It's majestic, man. It really is. But the Flume Gorge is a beautiful. If you're ever up there in New Hampshire,
We'll
Flume
do it.
Gorge Trail.
We'll do it,
It's a-
brother. We're gonna do it.
Probably like a 1.7
My
mile
girl,
hike.
if my company strikes, which is looking closer and
She said
closer
she
every
loves
freaking day,
waterfalls, so waterfalls. You
waterfalls
definitely
are her favorite thing. Yeah, man. I want to take
Flume
her to the
Gorge is
nicest
the most
waterfall she's
beautiful
ever seen.
waterfall you'll ever see in New Hampshire.
Hear that, girl?
In all of New Hampshire, it's definitely the most beautiful waterfalls
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're doing this, man. Me, you, and your old lady. All right.
for sure.
And my
I
old
know,
lady.
I know my shit, man. All right, so back
Oh,
to
oh, good, too.
rather than vacationing up in New England where I'm at, let's go back to some. Let's go back to
Show
some.
some of the stuff on Virginia Beach, man,
Go
because I
back to
like
what
to
I was
talk
saying
about the
about where I
genetic
think
stuff.
they moved Camp Hero to. So I think they
Oh,
had a lot
okay.
of this research going on at the end of Montauk, where this lighthouse museum was. This
I've
radar
seen that
station,
before.
electronic warfare. I think they closed that down, and then when the next spot they moved it to was somewhere that they could have local legends to kind of
Mhm.
get as a cover for the research that was going on out there. And I think that's when they moved it to Utah at Skinwalker.
Oh, are you serious? You think Skinwalker is a government warfare range? Is
I
what you think?
absolutely do. I absolutely believe
That's a
that
really
that
good because you know who's involved with it, right? George Knapp.
all the
Oh my
people, all the
God.
same people that are pushing this
Jeremy
fucking
Corbell.
disinformation in the mainstream, all the people connected with that are all the people connected with the Skinwalker Ranch stuff too, and a
Boy,
lot of
man,
the
you
research that
nailed
was
that.
done out there, and I think there's
That's awesome.
I'm connecting some dots here. It might not exist. I know. I'm speculating. It's pure speculation at this point. I have
Nah, I think you're
zero
probably
evidence,
spot on.
but I'm going on a hunch here, and I think I've
I
talked to at
never
least
thought of
two
that.
these two researchers who've really got into this themselves and confirmed some of my beliefs. One I want to have back on the show. I haven't talked to her in about a year, but her name is Erica Lukes.
Oh, she's great. Yeah, she's the one
Yeah.
that debunked what's his name? Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Although I was telling everybody 10 years ago he's a freaking total liar and nobody believed me, remember? Oh, that Dan guy's full of shit. I was spot on.
Yeah, Bigelow and Bigelow. Yeah, we got to expose Skinwalker Ranch, and what I think's going on out at Skinwalker Ranch, right?
We ought to have
I think
Travis
what they
on
were
there.
doing out there.
Dr.
This is
Travis.
combined with some of this other stuff because you look at Project Plowshare,
Mhm.
broke some of the Broken Arrow, some of the underground, horizontal mining technologies. Some of the stuff that they did in Kuwait when they drilled, laterally into
I
Kuwaiti
know.
oil, because Kuwait got invaded because Kuwait
They were
basically
literally under Kuwait stealing their oil.
they were
Iraq.
going into Iraq and under the border
Yep.
and stealing the oil that was
Yep.
over the border, and but they were drilling underground, like, illegally into their land and stuff. And I think a lot of those technologies were developed, and I think this is a perfect geology and terrain to do that kind of stuff. If you're a geologist and you look this up, there's these lateral faults that run. You can kind of see the striations if you look at the landscape and the layout. So you can really drill here easily if you go in this one direction. And what I think is, remember how these guys go out there with these electronic sensors and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can't figure out where the signal's coming from, but they know that there's this signal out there, and they know there's this electronic emissions and this presence of electrical energy coming from somewhere, but they can't pinpoint it.
Right.
Now, what if we, I say I bored a 6-inch hole 1.5 miles underneath the flat terrain of Skinwalker Ranch. And down that channel line, I ran, piping. And inside of that piping, I could, basically put any kind of wire or electronic transmission kind of cable or technology down that wire that I wished. Right?
Okay. I'm sorry. I had somebody from
I think we should do some underground, GPR, ground penetrating radar, or other kinds of things out there. I think that should be the next
guy out there, Dr. Travis, or what's his name?
Yeah, Travis. Travis.
You tried to get him on your show. He don't believe Bob Lazar either.
He doesn't believe Bob Lazar either.
He seems really competent to me. He seems really smart.
Yeah, I know, but they're not thinking. They're not
about that
They're
show.
thinking inside of a box. All right, and I'm trying to think outside the box.
Fake. Don't you think the show's fake?
I think a lot of it is fake. I think it looks. I mean, everything you see on reality TV and everything on TV is like super fake.
Yeah, look what they did to me when I was on Ass's Unexplained Files. They interviewed me for 6 hours and had me on 5 minutes, 2 minutes here.
Well, he's great. He's great. Bullshit. He's super scientific and super imaginative, right? But within a box, right? That's how it works. It's like this guy's great, but he's got to think inside that box. What I'm doing is I'm thinking outside that box and saying, well, what if, some really weird shit's going on with this, right? Because we look at these past cases, some of this history, and some of the real research and stuff.
I'm blown away.
Let's talk more about Bob, because people seem to be here for Bob, and I want to talk more about this and relate it back.
Well, read some questions in the chat, man. Are there any
Skinwalker Ranch is a whole nother thing that we really should go down, a whole nother rabbit hole we should explore from this whole nother angle.
I put a lot of time in studying Skinwalker Ranch, but I didn't connect what you did there, that it's electronic warfare. That's pretty amazing, because there is a lot of stuff. There's some crazy, man. They filmed some insane UFOs over that place, man, and I just was like,
yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, like, how would I do that? How would I create that? And how would I do it from a way that it couldn't really be traced,
Electronic warfare, brother.
Yeah.
Electronic countermeasures.
Well, a lot of this stuff has history in the Star Wars defense, the SDI, the Star Wars program under Reagan, where they were using a lot of it's in the directed energy weapons, these microwave lasers, and the satellite-based microwave weapons. That they were developing to knock out incoming ICBMs during the 70s. Well, they realized, what else can we do with this stuff? Well, you can make plasma balls, and you can make those plasma balls talk. You can make them bark commands, so you can make a plasma ball appear in front of some soldier and then tell him to get the fuck out of there, or put his hands up, or he's going to be annihilated. Surrender your weapons and put your hands up.
What blows me away? When they'll group, like, let's say 100 drones together at nighttime, right? Well, let's say you got 100 drones here, and then 50 yards away you have 100 drones, and 50 yards away you have 100 drones, and 50 yards away you have 100 drones. Well, think of
TR6 Telos.
How they blink. Well, you could blink them off here, blink them on here, blink them on here in like a split second. It'll look like it's flying, like a ship flying across the sky. They're already doing that with drones. people are. So imagine what the government's been doing. These are drones you buy
No,
off
you don't
the
have to
shelf.
imagine. Let's look up Project Palladium. T.D. Barnes talked about this, and they
Yeah.
did the same thing with these balloons. So they had a bunch of what they did is they have these buoys. They put a bunch of these buoys in the water, and the buoys have this like inflatable balloons, right?
Mhm.
So one of them will inflate this balloon, and the balloon will pop up and float, and it will float up to a certain altitude, and then it will pop and disappear, right?
Yep.
And then the next buoy will release another balloon, and it will float up to a certain altitude and pop and then disappear, right? And
Yep.
they're all timed to do this in an array, so that
So it looks like one continuous
so it looks like
radar
this
signature,
friggin'
right?
thing that's flying at Mach 20.
Yeah. They said they used it on the Russians, man, and they said they
Yeah,
were baffled by it, scared them.
scared the shit out of them. Yeah, so
Yep. So guess
this
what? You
goes
have a
Project
UFO.
Palladium.
You have an actual UFO report at that point.
It was a real CIA program, and it tracking
And
ghost
from
aircraft.
60s too. It was from like 1963,
Yeah,
for God's sakes. So that, I mean, imagine what they've got now. I mean, we're talking about freaking 60, 70 years ago already.
yeah, and some of the balloons that they used for this stuff were with a sphere and a cube inside a sphere, which was the
Yep.
same shit these pilots were reporting.
A cube inside a sphere is a UFO that Jim Mars used to call a buckyball. Look it up once. And
Yeah,
here it was the government the entire
yeah,
time, huh?
Jim Mars.
Jim was
What a
awesome.
great,
Jim died a
awesome,
few
what an
years
awesome
ago,
guy,
man.
man. Jim Mars.
That was a terrible loss. We should
He's
have
the
had him on.
grandfather of conspiracy, man. He's an awesome dude.
Woke up one day with an infection in his eye. About 2 weeks later, his eyeball fell out, and a week after that, he was dead. I
Yeah.
think he was killed somehow.
Oh yeah.
He was poisoned, something weird. I mean, your eyeball just doesn't
I think
follow
the
you.
aliens got him, man. I don't know.
Well, I
Fucking,
mean,
there's some
something
real
happened.
X-Files
I
shit.
pissed a lot of people off with this
Speaking of
Roswell
X-Files
book.
shit, right? X-Files season finale, right? How
I
about
didn't
the
watch. I don't think I watched it.
you guys watch the X-Files? Hold up, I'm gonna
Are
find
you
out right
talking
now.
about the last time the X Files was on, or are you talking about the first time it was on? Remember, the first X Files had a TR3B on it.
I don't follow. Yeah, I know. I don't follow all the X-Files, but
I'll never forget Ed talking about that, man. We ought to talk about Eddie Fouché sometime too.
yeah, I
Ed was
know.
the man. I miss Ed. I'd give anything to freaking get on here and talk to him again.
Oh, I know, huh?
Ed, are you still alive?
Anyways,
Call me if you are.
the X-Files finale, right, was basically it was a whole thing about a government, a totalitarian government taking control of the population by using a virus.
Oh, are you serious?
And this was like 2018 or something. So it's like a couple.
Wow,
What
I'm gonna have
better
to
way
go
to
watch
end
it
the
now.
X-Files, a show about like all these conspiracies with a real one, dude? You know
I'm gonna have to go watch
was
that.
gonna happen, dude. Holy shit, man. Yeah. So there's
By
like,
the way, there is no such thing as that C word anymore. Did you notice that? Don't mention it, but did you notice it's
oh, it's
gone?
completely vanished. We got Ukraine now. It's the U word now, and man,
I know. Our
it's
work,
vanished on the radar. Everyone's been
all our mandates.
reprogrammed, and they're just like, forget about this, dude. You know that there should be Nuremberg like style trials, and these Klaus Schwab. I won't even name all the other names, but all these guys should be in prison. Fauci, Gates, they all should be in fucking prison. They all should be fucking. They all should be investigated. We should be going after the bioweapons labs that
That
manufactured
whole
all the damn
Davos
fucking
group,
viruses and did all this shit on purpose. It's all been fucking exposed as a scam, and no one fucking talks about it.
I'd like to have a microphone in Davos, Switzerland, and hear what they talk about.
I'll debate anybody on this. I was calling it. I was calling it out from the to start, but it's like,
Yeah, you've been nailing that stuff down for years, brother.
in any case, it's disappeared off the radar now. You don't even hear. There's still some people like hanging on. Wearing the masks and doing it. They just took
They
off.
lifted it. It'll work on Monday. No one just has to wear them anymore. No, thank God.
There's still people who will. Oh, this is gonna be.
There's a couple. There's a couple, man.
We're gonna do like a show, like I
they're
swear,
alien.
like in 10 years from now, there'll be still some people holding on to the corona belief. There'll be these cultists, that still hold on.
Yeah. Well, remember SARS when SARS came out in China?
They blamed
Uh,
all the flu deaths, any kind of like death. The hospitals were getting paid to mark down COVID as the on the autopsies and everything to like. It's just so much deception on and the way that they did it on the scientific level to convince the scientific community that you got to go along with this or you're gonna like you're not helping the herd and you're threatening the herd with the misinformation and the disinformation. And
mhm.
I think it
Well, what's
really
crazy?
backfired.
What's
I'm hoping
crazy?
it backfired because a lot of people, it woke a lot of people up to the fact that there's, powers that are controlling narratives on a huge level.
Yeah.
Um,
What I found disturbing was when you get the second jab, you would test positive for that disease for 6 months, and I was like,
yeah, the
six
shit's still
months?
going on in New Zealand and Australia,
Yep.
man. It's bad. Australia is,
No
gone into
jabs here,
full
folks.
totalitarian, like, it's like Nazi Germany there right now. It's horrible.
But New Zealand and Australia, isn't it? Both of them.
And people think, oh, you're being extreme comparing this to Nazi Germany. No, dude, Nazi Germany was you probably it's like a boiling a frog. You wouldn't even know that you were living in it. You'd just be like, we're gonna go along with it because that's the propaganda of the day. It's
Damn
the echo
straight, bro.
chamber, man. It's like the echo chamber says Bob Lazar.
Yeah, this
Everyone.
Bob Lazar stuff. Hey, let's bring the Bob
Well, the
Lazar
other
expert
echo
on.
chamber
The
is the
guy
Lou
plagiarized our
Elizondo
site.
and the whole TTSA Lou Elizondo official, the CIA's narrative on UFOs, which is basically like taken over popular ufology and really instilled a lot of disinformation and misinformation. Let's get back to the Bob Lazar case, man. One of the
Good.
original researchers, Mark Farmer, and this guy Tom Mahood.
Tom Mahood was the man. Yeah, he's the man that really kicked things off, isn't he? He did the Bob Lazar timeline. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's incredible. Mark Farmer was an aviationist from. Not many people know who he is. He's an aviation enthusiast in from Canada, and I'll tell you this: Mark Farmer was flown right over Papoose Lake years ago by a pilot, an Air Force pilot, because Mark was an aviation writer and stuff like that. And he never seen anything. This was way before our friend Gabe Zeifman flew over twice. Once in on Thanksgiving of 2020, the second time Christmas of 2021, and he absolutely destroyed the Bob Lazar story. Yes, that little hill is supposed to be S4. There's nothing there. There's not 9 hangars. It's a 1,700-foot space just to go from the very bottom of that hill where he claimed the hangars were to the dry lake bed. Now, in his drawings, it was like 3 feet. Okay.
Yeah, you can
Um,
roll these right out of the mountainside and
yeah,
onto the lake bed.
1,700 foot over brush and all kinds of crap. Rocks. Give me a break. That's all crap.
And then these guys trying to move it out to that spot way out in the mountainside near that mine that's off.
Yep.
It's actually off the U.S. Air Force land. It's on the Nevada test site land.
Oh,
But
yeah,
anyways,
yeah, yeah,
this
exactly.
lake
Yeah, that
bed,
alien, what's his name?
it's a dry lake bed, but despite that, in the rainy season, it actually floods. So the
Yeah,
whole
imagine
story.
that. The whole place would be filled with water.
So the guy that actually went out there, hiked out there, looking for the lost trail of the 49ers,
Jerry
right?
Freeman.
And George Knapp talked about him, but then he said that, he was up on the hillside and he saw hangar doors open up on the lake bed and
Yeah.
these lights and everything. And what actually I think it was is, lights maybe reflecting off the water on the surface of the lake bed because water.
Well, hold on a minute here. No, actually, there used to be a small building off to the side there on Papoose Lake that was the radar jamming building that they would use for flights over Papoose Lake and over Area 51, a countermeasure to see if they could, what radar jamming they could do on the stealth program. Now, Jerry Freeman was there in 1997. They would have been testing that same thing there. That building has since like been torn down and stuff. It was small. So if there's a door opening up with a light in it, it's very possible someone was in there. It's possible someone was in there opening the door and closing it and
And
opening the door.
another thing,
This guy's 2-3 miles away towards the Nevada test site. He can't see. He can't tell what's going on. Or it could have been a security vehicle pulling up, because guess what? The security guy that was interviewed
Yeah, it could have been a security guy pulling up. You
yeah,
know what
by
else though? But
stated that they would go there every night and check on the place, and there was nothing there.
where's the picture? I got to find the picture of the water on the lake bed, because
That was the first set of pictures.
yeah, this one. See, you can see the water that appears on the lake
No,
bed.
that's
So
not the
this,
one, bro. That's the newest ones. Keep going. It's far
uh,
worse than that. It's
yeah, there's
far
way.
fucking worse. You
Where
probably
is?
Google it and find it. It was on the drive, remember?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, there we go. It's loaded
Oh,
with
I
mud.
can't click on it. I gotta go back and edit this so I can make it clickable. I have these pictures somewhere.
Click on the drive and type in Papoose Lake. Or just type in Papoose Lake and images. It comes right up with water all over it.
But the thing is, if water appears on the surface, you wouldn't be able to have a facility underneath that, because
No.
I mean, just to pump all that out, it would be
And they
incredible.
claim
And
it gets filled quite often because all this runoff. You can see where it runs off. You can
that
see it. Look
really,
at
this
the
is a
stream.
molehill, man. There's no base inside there. That would be
I
stupid,
know.
Maybe over here, but like, still, that's way too far. That's
Yeah.
so far from where he said they were testing these things right out on the dry lake bed, right from the facility and the hangar doors and
Yes,
everything.
it's not true.
But then you go and dig and dig and dig, like me and Dan have. Dan, you posted this. You recognize this?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's Plant 42 Palmdale. The stealth bombers being built.
So this is from the 1990s, right?
No, this would be 80s.
Late 80s,
No, 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 no. This would be
mid
remember, we
80s.
didn't find out about the stealth bomber or the stealth fighter until 91, I think. So I'm thinking early 80s here. I had a friend that worked there and built those stealth bombers that I work with.
So there's a couple different Site 4s, it turns out. So we've
Yes.
done a ton of research into finding where Site 4 is. So Jabba the Hutt is
This is Site
S4
4.
a real site? Actually, we found a couple real S4s.
Yeah.
And what we think happened, right? So we think what happened is that Lazar heard some rumors about these Site 4s and weaved those.
This was Site 4 at Plant 42 Palmdale.
Yeah.
Which
So this was a Site
California.
4, one of the Site 4s that we found. It was out at Palmdale, Plant 42.
Yeah.
And this is where the B2.
I was blown away by that when I saw it said Site 4 on there. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Now this is a slide. Where's this slide from?
I found that on man,
Jim
I was doing
Goodall posted this
research
in
on the, you
2016.
know how I do. I'm always researching the stealth programs and stuff because I'm obsessed with stealth. I found that, man, and remember about a month or two ago, I was like, "Can you believe this?" And I messaged you, said, "Look what it says on there," and you couldn't believe it said Site 4.
Yeah, so imagine the
Yeah,
rumors,
I remember the
right?
site.
So imagine Bob Lazar in the mid 1980s, 1988 or so, hanging out with Jim Goodall and hearing these
Oh no,
rumors
I
about.
found it from Jim Goodall. That's where I saw it at.
Yeah, Jim Goodall posted this in 2016.
Yes, that's where it was from, Jim Goodall. Yeah,
And I don't know how you found it, because you must have gone way back on Jim's
Googling
Facebook
stealth
page
programs. Yeah,
and found this. But this this is super curious, because imagine you're hanging out with Jim Goodall, right? You just met John Lear. You're watching John Lear talk about Area 51 on George Knapp and get friggin' thousands and tens of thousands of people like paying attention to him, watching him, and you're like, holy crap, there might be some money to be made here. I might be able to get out of this photo processing and pimping business. I might be able to get into something a little more lucrative and more legit.
get a movie, right?
And then you hear this rumor about, hey, they're building invisible spaceships out at this place called Site 4.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Plant 42. They're building
That's
the
why
B-2
I asked
bomber
Jim Goodall about it. You can see it right there.
with the Biefeld-Brown effect. They charge the leading edge, and they ionize the exhaust stream, so that it creates this counter radar signature, countermeasure, an electronic countermeasure built right into the whole airframe of the craft, which also reduces the gravitational affected the craft by 15% because the
Yeah.
Biefeld-Brown effect on that giant wing.
Yeah.
This was technology. This is the wing aircraft goes back to the Flying V's, goes
The
back to
XB-47.
those brothers,
Oh, the Hortons. Yeah. The
the
Horton
Horton brothers,
229. Yeah.
right? So out of Nazi Germany, you had the Horton brothers
Man,
designing
those
the
guys
first,
were way ahead of their time. Oh my
way
God.
ahead of their time. They're just wing-shaped aircraft that flying wing designs that were
Mhm.
because they didn't have a
Incredible.
fuselage and they didn't have a vertical stabilizer. They were naturally radar resistant because the radar signature of the plane is most of it is provided by the fuselage and the rear stabilizer. So by eliminating those parts of the aircraft, you basically make it it's naturally stealth because those are the
Yeah,
radar
hey,
reflective surfaces. Super interesting stuff. Yeah, so they're building these invisible aircraft out at Site 4. You hear some stories about this, and hey, why don't you weave that into it? You got all this great information.
I
They just
think I nailed it right there. Jim didn't respond. I think he was probably baffled by looking at that saying Site 4. I just couldn't believe it, And by the way,
the
anybody that
Site
wants to
4 facility right here. It says it,
incredible
man.
books, buy Jim Goodall's books. They're incredible. I have a number of them right here. They're absolutely unbelievable. Man, that guy has
So
all the
they
stuff,
were they
stealth
originally
programs, everything.
they originally set up the Site 4 facility to produce 133 of the B2s, but in the end, only 21 were produced,
Yep.
along with 2 static airframes. What the hell?
The rumor is that one out of every three of them had hovering capabilities, and that's what the Hudson Valley UFO supposedly was. Now, if you look up Michael Schratt's Hudson Valley UFO drawing, man, does it look like a stealth bomber, not a stealth
Mm.
fighter. Two different vehicles. Stealth fighter being F-117, this would be B-2, and supposedly had an extra engine in each wing that was very similar to Edgar Fouché's counter-rotating Mercury, his rotating Mercury plasma engines, supposedly that were
Yeah.
in there. It's a really interesting story, but supposedly one out of every three had not anti-gravity, but inertia manipulation is what I would call it. Anti-gravity is a propulsive force. Inertia manipulation lightens the load. So it would be able to create this thing to stop and hover and turn with its regular engines, from what I was told.
All right, so we're going to take a break because we debunk so much fake shit. I want to just get into some real stuff, and you mentioned inertial propulsion, and I want to
Mhm.
talk about Bernard Hayes for a second, who's if you want to talk about a real Bob Lazar, a guy who was actually a senior staff physicist, who worked at special projects for the aerospace industry. This guy
Mhm.
was hired by Lockheed Martin to do a lot of classified research in the late '90s, and he worked with some of these other guys like Hal Puthoff and others. But you can go right here to his publications page, and you can see what's this is his curriculum vitae, was called CV, right?
Mhm.
And anyone who's a physicist, actually a real physicist
Yeah.
has a CV. You have a CV that you can put together. I put together one of mine, and it was mostly just a review of my videos and my news reportings and stuff, which are
Mhm.
kind of like papers. I
Yep.
view like when I come out here and I publish something, it's not like I'm publishing a paper. It's not as definitely not as polished and well refined, but I'm out here publishing my work, so that's kind of my CV in a way. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not nowhere near as accomplished as a guy like this. But when you compare a guy like this, who is an actual real physicist for the defense and aerospace industry, working on physics of UFOs, essentially, um, and you compare someone who's the real deal like this to Bob Lazar, you understand why Bob Lazar, why I'm so confident when I tell people like this dude's a fraud, I'm sorry, like, I don't I want to. Why should I waste my time like trying to like slowly, you know, sugarcoating this, or like, or making it more popular, or making myself more, appealing to, so I can get on Joe Rogan. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just this dickhead. Why is Joe Rogan going to have me on? I'm here calling him a fraud because I'm confident that I can call this guy a fraud, and I know for a fact that Bob Lazar or Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp will never, ever, ever confront us or talk to us. I met George Knapp at Alien Con out in 2019 in LA, man. The guy, as soon as he realized who I was, he
You
like,
told me you booked, right?
he booked it, dude. He was like, as soon as I introduced myself to him, started asking him a couple questions. He's like, yeah, we covered that in our original, exposés on Lazar. And I was like, well, why, don't you still talk? It's like, he's still
We're like a
telling the
rash
story.
on those guys that won't go away, you know.
Oh, man, I don't know. It's just nonsense. It's like, I watched this, right? So Bob Lazar still making the rounds. JTRC, this guy, 19 hours ago, posted a
Wow.
video, right? March 3rd. It's already got
Fraud.
13,000 views on Bob
What?
Lazar. No, new video on Bob Lazar, already 13,000 views. I don't get 13 fucking thousand.
It's because what is it? Pro Bob
It's
Lazar,
pro,
right?
it's
That's
pro
why.
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, there you go.
This is ridiculous, man. It's
I
like,
didn't know people were still putting out videos. Oh, that's right. People are plagiarizing your site. I'm sorry.
no, well, the debunkers are, but they're not getting the airtime. Nobody cares about the
Nope.
debunking. They love these flashy, idiot videos. They're like, this dude's telling the truth, who repeat all the same fucking lies, that he hasn't changed his story. Not true. He has. Go look up the Billy Goodman Happening show, like where he lied his ass off and then couldn't, he changed. He figured out real quick what he had to say and what he couldn't say.
One of the biggest lies is the machine that they test flew, called the Sport Model, had 3 gravity amplifiers in it, and then he stated on different occasions that one was ripped out. Remember, he said they had plasma torched it out and destroyed it. Then another time it was perfect. Then another time they plasma torched out one engine. Remember that? It wouldn't fly
Yeah.
right if one
Well,
of the
also
engines.
the element 115, he said it was malleable. You could dent it with your finger because it was so like soft, but yet they needed to send it to Los Alamos
But it
to a
melts at
special machine.
3,750 degrees, but was in a total annihilation reaction, which is 1 million degrees minimum. So it would have melted. That would have freaking totally been gone, destroyed.
Yeah, and then they would have had to. Why would they have to machine it at Los Alamos? And it sounds so much
Exactly
like.
right. They called it LA 1000 supposedly.
And then
Yeah.
then I did the research and found out, like, well, he just learned about this by going to the Los Alamos Natural History Museum and learning about the Demon Core and
Oh,
the
you
Slotin
nailed that.
accident.
Yeah, that was incredible.
The scientist, remember, he told the story about the scientist that supposedly cut into this UFO reactor and
Tickling the
died.
dragon's tail.
Well, that happened.
AKA
That did
this
not
Lewis
happen.
Slotin.
That
This
didn't
Lewis
happen in the
Slotin.
early 80s, in the late 80s, right? Bob Lazar was not hired to replace Louis Slotin, okay? Louis Slotin died in like the 1940s during the Manhattan Project, and that's
He
the real
copied their
story.
story about
Copied that
cutting
story.
into a reactor.
And his reactor looks exactly like the new setup because they had to replace that reactor and design a new one, that because
Absolutely
basically
identical.
he had this beryllium half shell and he was lowering it onto over this demon core, which was this core of a supercritical mass of plutonium. And when they reflected, they put this neutron reflector over it, right? Which the beryllium half shell is a neutron reflector. What that does is it reflects all the neutrons, keeps the neutrons stabilized and bouncing around, and creates a concentration of the neutrons. And when those neutrons present, it stabilizes the reaction. This is how nuclear reactions like take place inside nuclear power plants. Okay, that's what that whole water bath is for, where the nuclear rods sit in a nuclear water bath, and that whole process is required with the neutron flux. But basically he was doing it with a screwdriver, and the screwdriver slipped, and then when the thing hit, it went supercritical instantly and created a dose of radiation which killed him and some of the other scientists that were there. And luckily he like grabbed it with his hand and pulled it off like in time to save the other scientists' lives, but he sacrificed his whole hand was burnt to shit from the radiation.
Yeah, they melt. They show what happens, man. Those people
go look up the case. It's a real case, and
it's so awful. It's so hard. It's the most horrible death supposedly ever. I know that
Yeah,
from
and there's no case anywhere of anything like what Bob
you
Lazar
turn into like
described.
gelatin. It totally just absolutely devastates you, and
Yeah.
you die from
And
the inside out.
that was before 1977,
It was
79.
in the 40s, wasn't
What
it?
was
It
it?
was
70?
48
That
to
was in the
49.
40s, right? So then we had what you have is OSHA.
It was in Building 18 at Los Alamos, by the way. It was
So
in Building.
OSHA is the OSHA.gov. If anyone's familiar with OSHA, the occupational
Mhm.
there's an act that was passed by Congress called the Occupational Safety and Hazards Awareness Act, and that was passed in the late 1970s, I think 77 or 78 maybe, and
Mm.
so that basically required all deaths that were on the job, on government jobs. If you're on a government job, any death or any death on any job in the United States has to be reported to this government agency, OSHA, within 48 hours, or you get
Mhm.
massive penalties and fines. Okay, so if you're
Yep.
your employer and you have a death on your job site, it has to be reported to OSHA, and you can go on OSHA.gov and I can look up right now. Let's see how many, and you can see on here, and you can get actually the deaths, and it reports it all. So you can see who's died, so far in 2022, I can see every work site fatality that happened in the United States.
Wow, that's awesome.
And you can go right on OSHA.gov and see that. And you can look up, what are people dying from on the job?
Mhm.
How are people getting killed at work? So that you can
No
learn
one
how not to
opening
be.
a reactor up at the Nevada nuclear test site, huh?
Right. So if you were working on a reactor out at the
87.
nuclear Nevada test site or Los Alamos or Area 51 or any one of these places, and you died on the job,
Mhm.
your employer legally has to report that to this agency within 48 hours, or they get crazy fines. And it
Not
has
only
to
that,
be.
he said it was an unannounced nuclear test, remember? And we
And he
never
said it was an
ever went
unannounced
on
nuclear
that.
test.
Yeah.
So boom. It has to be. It would have to be on OSHA.gov, on the Department of Labor and Statistics, and that death would be recorded. It would be reported, and it is
That's
not
right.
there. There's no evidence of it anywhere whatsoever. Bob Lazar copied that story from the Lewis Slotin accident, and I'll confront him on it anytime and ask him, to really, there's all these little things about his story.
The
We
fact
would
that
we
the reactor looks identical and that I took 4 pictures and put them on a website and they all thought the Slotin reactor was Bob Lazar's was funny. I did that on Above Top Secret years ago. And the Living Moon. Um,
Yeah, that's Slotin.
People
That's
thought that I had the exact. People thought that it was Lazar's. I'm like, no, it's actually Slotin's. They have
No,
no.
well, no,
Slotin was.
Slotin. It's not Slotin's. So Slotin died after that accident. I think he lasted like maybe 5-7 days.
Yeah.
But the radiation just took a massive toll on his body. He got
Hmm.
extremely sick and died of radiation sickness. And became a case study, a statistic in a case study. But what happened is after that beryllium half shell experiment, where he was doing that experiment with the screwdrivers, they said, well, we need to make a mechanized way to lower this thing on that
Oh
we
yeah.
can get down to like really precise measurements so that we can, so here you have the two beryllium half shells that,
Hmm.
and it's all set up by machine so that, these scientists can be nowhere near it, you know,
Yep. And it
and it
was
can
in
all
Los
be run.
Alamos Museum, which is where Bob would has
Which is
pictures
where
of
Bob would have
himself.
gone and been like,
He
"Oh,
had
I need
pictures of
ideas."
himself there with Fat Man and Little Boy. Remember?
Right. Where he's sitting there in his little
Videotape.
1980s, technician brain looking for a story, a way to make up a story that sounds believable and convincing. And that's what I think happened. The hand scanners, every piece of evidence that Jeremy Corbell used on Joe Rogan to like and in his film to promote Bob Lazar as a truth-telling, actual physicist who worked on top secret classified programs for the military, can be proven as a lie. And we've
Yep.
done the research to show that and really dig into it. From the hand scanners to the W2 to the, you know, all the little
I go
details.
back to the very beginning. You've got to be a physicist to become a senior staff physicist. Prove to me you're a physicist, man, a degreed physicist.
Yeah, let's
There's zero proof. Look at Bernard H's freaking resume. I mean, it's incredible. Lazar would have something very similar to that.
he'd have papers written.
He'd be known. You'd have more than one guy coming out of the woodwork and saying, "Oh, he's for real." You'd have hundreds of people. His classmates, 0 classmates have been found at this point. 0.
And then he claims that he doesn't attract attention. He doesn't want
Yeah,
attention or
he
media
does a
spotlight.
movie.
But he goes on Joe Rogan and he goes on Larry King, bro, and with where they can't ask him certain questions, and it has to be the scripted narrative though. But then he agrees to go on. But that's it's crazy, dude. So this guy, Bernard Hayes, you never heard of this dude. He doesn't give interviews. He would never go on Larry King or Joe Rogan or any, he doesn't care.
Right.
He's not in that world, bro. He's in the academic world, and
exactly.
He doesn't care about what, Britney Spears or Kim Kardashian fucking thinks about the physics, because they don't think.
Exactly.
They're just in Bob Lazar land,
He cares what the scientific community thinks.
Right, because that actually matters at the end of the day. It actually means something.
Right. Absolutely, man.
I wonder how many deaths of COVID were reported by OSHA.
Because OSHA deals with work deaths, I don't know. I imagine hospitals would have something like that, right?
Okay, so here's the fatality reports, guys, if you want to see it.
Wow, they go how far back? Do they go back to the 80s?
You could get that because it was created in the 70s, so definitely it's the record keeping began in the 70s. So absolutely,
Yeah, FOIA, man.
FOIA at all. You can, anyone wants to do the
research. Any of you little nerds out there, FOIA, 1987, Nevada nuclear test site, 1988. Find out if anybody died out there from 2 scientists died from an explosion that Bob replaced. That's another thing.
Hired to replace them. That's what
it's funny. Why'd they have the reactor over at the Nevada test site, man? Why'd they move it over there all of a sudden? I'll be back in a second.
All right. Well, we're hit the hour mark now, so I'm gonna officially open this up to the audience, guys. So there's a StreamYard link if anyone wants to jump on and who believes Bob Lazar. Tell us why. Wants to dig in a little bit more to the story, or or argue a certain point or anything, think we got something wrong, please feel free to chime in and share your knowledge and information with us. George Knapp, on the record back in the day with John Lear, he talked about a lot of this stuff. He talked about a hangar out there with he said 11 UFOs. Bob Lazar later said 9. But I believe John Lear said it was like 11 or so UFOs that were in this hangar out there in the desert.
Yeah, and he said one was in perfect condition that they flew.
Dave, you got a camera? Let's talk more about Ed, dude. Yeah, so that was cool that we asked TD Barnes, straight up, like, he said that Bob Lazar is a liar. He never worked out there, right? What do you say about Ed Fouché? Can neither confirm nor deny that Ed worked out there. That was huge, man. Oh, we got Dave. Hey, sorry, where'd you go, man? I was just gonna add these guys to the stream. Don't go nowhere. We got Geoff.
Jeff Reed, what's up, buddy?
Jeff Reed.
Oh my God, my favorite person in the whole fucking world, my brother. Jeff, what's up, man?
This is a fucking biker convention.
Here, I wanted to catch it. I haven't talked to you for a while, bro. And
this is one of the best
show.
Jeff Reed, tell him, Jeff.
I got a mute.
Yeah, somebody's got their YouTube.
Dave, you gotta mute your mic, man, until you're live here, Dave. So I don't know if you're ready to talk, but you gotta I just muted your mic out if you want to shut the stream down, because you're in the StreamYard. You're backstage now, so you can shut down the YouTube.
Let Jeff go off about Bob Lazar for a minute. He knows it.
All right. Oh, sorry. I just muted him.
Sorry. I'll mute after I'm done talking, Jeremy. And by the way, nice to finally meet you, Jeremy.
That's one of my best
Yeah,
friends.
man, we've been friends on Facebook for a while now, man.
Me and Dan
Cheers.
go back a decade.
Yeah, Jeff's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, I mean,
same comments on UFO videos, brother.
there is
I love
so
Jeff.
many holes in the Lazar bullshit, and he never does, like you point out, a script. He never does an interview that isn't scripted. Same questions, same answers. On Rogan, he got tongue-tied because that wasn't scripted, you know. But you know, he claims he knows where this S4 is, but what? And then he claims, you know, they're blindfolded, the bus got painted windows on. There's just so many holes in it. It's a joke. It's a fucking joke.
It is.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want to dip in, say hi to Dan, and
brother, you have no idea how good it is to talk to you live and see your face. Since I went back to work, we don't talk much anymore, you know?
Well,
Jeff and I used to talk every day for at least 2-3 hours. I'm not bullshitting you, for a long time.
Yeah, well, I plan on sorry.
Jeff, let me tell you something. If anybody doesn't know this, Jeff is a victim of the Paradise fires in California. The morning that his home burnt to the ground and melted his two beautiful Harley Davidsons to the ground, there was just a stream of aluminum on the ground. I was living in Lebanon at the time. Jeff called me on the phone. I didn't know what was going on. He was out of breath. He was screaming and yelling. And he took there's his two daughters. He took his leather jacket. He's a biker like me. Took his leather jacket and wrapped it around his daughter as cars are exploding as they're driving up the street. No one would pick him up because people were so freaked out.
Dude, you had better pictures in the news, man, on Facebook.
Yeah, man. It's incredible. His house
I
mounted
didn't take really any pictures. I mean, that was afterwards, but yeah, I got court tomorrow morning. They want my kids there on Zoom. This fucking semi-retired judge is getting $70,000 to meet my kids and ask them how they're doing. Like my kids are even going to talk to them. Yeah, the corruption's crazy.
His kids have PTSD from the fire, by the way.
Bitch, and yeah, but I'm getting another check, Dan, here pretty quick.
I hope to God you do, man, because
he
ended up homeless like the whole town did, and it's just insane. They have such a corrupt governor out there. He sides with PG&E. What's that?
No, he took $60,000 to screw us out of $6.5 billion. But yeah, I just wanted to pop on here for a minute and say hi. And
anything to say about Bob Lazar?
Huh? Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Now apparently he lives about 2 hours from me. Like I said, how's he know where S4 is? If you know if the bus's windows are all blacked out and all that. No, every bit of it is bullshit. You can just pick that apart. They're going to bring a guy like him in to work for 6 months. What did they hire him from, a temp agency? You know.
And remember, he worked once a month there.
Oh yeah.
Once a month, and he learned all these incredible things. You know
him and Knapp and Lear. They all concocted this BS, and boy, Lazar's done pretty well off it. But when you look at this guy, he's a fraud in everything he does.
Yep.
Everything.
Yeah, that whole business. So he's run a business. It started with this fireworks deal he was doing with Desert Blast, where they would announce it to like the select community like 72 hours before it happened, and they'd all meet up out in the desert and blow off fireworks.
Yeah, everybody makes a big deal out of him putting a turbine engine in a car. Like, that's genius or something. Shit, you go down to San Jose Speedway, they have the San Jose Mile. They do that shit all the time. I mean, there's nothing spectacular about it.
Yeah, so 1977, he was in that newspaper article out in, Woodland Hills, California, with that rocket engine on the back of his bike, right?
Yeah.
20-year-old Bob Lazar.
Yeah, you can see what
it's cool, but just
you can see what a genius he is with that. I don't know how much thrust he'd get out of that rocket engine.
There's no way that thing went 65 miles an hour.
On that bike.
No way.
That's
65.
genius. Put
I,
that
I,
rocket
I built an
engine-
electric bicycle, man. Going like 45 on a bicycle is scary.
It would speed wobble and he'd wreck into a
That,
wall.
especially that frame. That frame is not.
It would speed wobble.
Oh, but is he riding it? Do you have footage of that? No, it just looks like a picture of a.
It probably
Yeah,
nerd
back
kid.
in the 70s with no helmet. He's
nerd
going
kid.
65. on a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, that's
bike.
a good point. No helmet.
Well, that didn't. That.
All 50 pounds of him.
Well, hey guys,
I'm very young there. Wow.
I got a pizza coming. I'll let you guys get back to
Hey,
this.
say hi to the girls for me, brother.
I sure will. Hey, say.
I'll give you a call. Hey, Jeff, bring them over and let me say hi to them.
Say hi to Uncle Dan.
Hey, girls. How you doing, girls? Good to see us.
Yeah.
Uncle
Anyway,
Dan,
yeah,
I'll
give me a
call
call tonight if you can, bro.
I'll give you a call later. If not tonight, it'll be tomorrow, man. I don't think I'm gonna be working tomorrow because we're out. Believe it or not, we're running out of parts.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
I'm
wanna talk to
today.
you about
So I'll get
something.
a hold of you, man. We'll talk. All right.
All right, you take care. You have a good night too, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Good for coming on. Hey, Lord Ludacris Plaid just jumped on too.
That's
to
my
take your
buddy
spot.
there, man. What's up, Lord?
We'll
Hey,
see you
man,
later,
what's
Jeff.
happening? Hey, Dan.
Thank you, man.
All right,
Take
man.
care,
Good
buddy.
to see you, bro.
Oops.
Enjoying the show.
Back on.
Yeah,
That's
enjoying the
tall
show.
white there. He's 6'8".
Yeah, I am 6'8".
How you been,
Yeah.
man?
Doing good, man. Can't
Cool, man.
complain.
Cool. Very
Can't complain.
good.
Enjoying the show, man, from the kings of Debunking Bob Lazar and the
Oh,
kings of
yeah,
knowing Ed Fouché. So you
Hell
got the
yeah,
best of
man.
both worlds.
Absolutely.
Well, the real Bob Lazar is to dig into the real programs and tell people what's going on with the real stuff.
The
out
OG
there.
Bob Lazar debunker.
You know what's crazy,
Yeah.
dude?
The guys
Dan-
that pulled me out
Dan-
of Bob Lazar.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, you know some real inside stuff about government contracting and working for this stuff. I just did a job. I'm a private contractor. I work for myself.
You mean
It gives me the freedom to make my own
this
money.
stuff? Badges?
They can't.
Look, when you actually do work, when you actually are a contractor, look how many badges you got to have just to get in and out of buildings. You don't just have one.
Yeah.
Okay, I have like 6 there just to go to different places where I work out. I mean, I ain't telling you where I work at, but that's why I can sit here and laugh about Bob's job where he says, "Oh my God, you think I was hired out of high school? Why not? We hire people out of high school."
Yeah, all the time. Dave, type in the private chat if you want to join back in, man. I don't know. Dave, are you there? Or
yeah, I'm here.
Did you have something to say, or do you want to ask a question? I don't mean to ignore you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Dave.
Am I here?
Yeah,
You're there, man. We can hear you loud and clear, man. I just saw you getting up.
Well, no, the entire Bob Lazar thing is kind of interesting because somebody had to have set that up way ahead of time.
I agree with you.
Oh yeah, we did the research into it to show the people that did it. It was John Lear talking on the record.
Okay.
Are you talking government disinformation or what?
Well, okay. So let's say you take the early 80s stuff from what they did to the guy down in New Mexico. Then you go ahead and take what you would do if, let's say, people are starting to watch what's going on over at Area 51. What you would obviously do is go ahead and set up a somebody to go ahead and, let's say, make up stories. That would be a straight up NSA operation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I wondered. I mean, it started, you guys said earlier, it started with Lear. I mean, could it have been planted by him from the very, very get-go?
Yeah, he's got a lot of ties to CIA
right.
pilots, and he's a former CIA
Lear
pilot.
family?
And he's the first one that went on with NAP, right?
Yeah, on the record the year before,
He's
talking
the
about
first
a
one
hangar
that
with
went on.
11 UFOs instead of 9.
Right. So,
well, who cares? It's a Lear family. The Lear family is completely tied in with all of the entire government.
Yeah,
And
that's
well,
true.
also
That's true.
Lear's dad is in the film. When I had the film of Bonson Labs, I got that archival footage from Bonson Labs where all the
crazy.
original Biefeld Brown anti-gravity research was done, during the 1960s. I showed that footage to John Lear, and he's like, "Oh my God, thank you for showing that. It was great to see my dad. Footage I'd never seen of my dad before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he went crazy over that.
Yeah." John Lear's father had gone to
Wow.
Bonson Labs to go and look at that anti-gravity research that was going on back then. So his whole family is deep into this. It goes back.
Yeah.
And that's always the case, is because you want to go ahead and make sure that you have everybody in place, that if you have alternative things going on, you're always going to have people in place that are always there. That's worth a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And so just have them there.
That's crazy.
So you think this was an NSA operation, is what you're saying? It's interesting you say that.
Well, why not?
Well, I
If
mean, I'm not disagreeing
well,
with
no,
you.
just name them off. Just name them off, because it could be Ornell, because the Ornell, the satellite guys, were already there ahead of time. Plus, that place was called Watertown to get go, and we all know that.
Richard Doty claims that Paul Benowitz was actually.
Yeah, Doty is way after the fact.
He claims that he actually had very little to do with Paul Benowitz's death. He said the NSA was renting a property across the street and were fucking with Paul Benowitz real bad.
The NSA
I always found that to be strange. DC.
The NSA would be way ahead of that.
Well, exactly.
Bill Moore was working with him.
As soon as
Bill Moore was working with NSA when they were working on Benowitz.
Yep.
He said he sat there with them and watched them photograph Paul Benowitz from across the street, and that's the same place where Doty talked about, him seeing the people and all that stuff. So,
well, Dave,
Bill Moore was involved in that stuff with the NSA.
100% right. You know what else I find suspect? That right before these Tic Tac stories come out, Bob Lazar.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yo, Justin Church, welcome to the show.
Okay, so how do you explain the?
You gotta shut your YouTube off, brother. Hey, brother, shut the YouTube off in the background, because you're gonna hear it as a delay. You're gonna hear yourself, and you're not gonna be able to think. Got it.
Are we good now?
Yeah, I got you. Dog.
Okay, so how do you explain the Lazar lithium-6 hydride hydrogen tanks in the Corvette back in the 80s and 90s? That was proven to be real. Where did he get the hydride from? He make it himself?
People been running cars off hydrogen since the 1940s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Bob Lazar maintains that he took a oh damn it, Jeremy, what the hell's that thing called?
yeah, so let's go to the hydrogen car video. This is a good one.
Freaking lithium hydride in his backyard.
Okay, can you make the lithium hydride in your backyard? And if so, why aren't you doing it and showing us?
How can he make it an atom at a time? He has to make an atom at a time.
So look at lithium hydride, right? If we look up the MS,
The only way you're going to have access to the equipment for lithium hydride tanks, lithium-6 hydride tanks, is if you have access to a military lab, a national defense lab.
Okay, what kind of lab?
And he's a genius engineer. He's been running United Nuclear for the past, I don't know what, 30 years now?
Selling magnets.
So what kind of equipment do you need to make lithium hydride?
I don't know, alien scientists. You tell me.
Asher, remember,
Hey,
Jeremy?
man, calm down, man.
Let me tell you the
I'm just saying, you guys get up here and run your fucking mouth, and you really are just talking heads. You're not engineers. Lazar was an engineer.
Lazar.
Explain the car, explain the tanks, explain how he got it, and why all of a sudden
Do you
All
know
of a
how many
sudden,
people
back in the
run cars
90s,
off hydrogen,
when he was
dude?
going, he was trying to tell everybody else how to make the shit.
Do you
All
know,
that stuff went dark. All that stuff went black.
do you know
Calm
how many
down,
people
man.
run
All right,
cars
man.
off
Calm down,
hydrogen?
man.
A hell of a
Hey,
lot.
Rednecks
whoa,
have been
everybody,
putting,
calm down. Calm down. Can I'm going to explain exactly what he asked me to do. You know, let's just calm down.
yeah,
We're
rednecks have
gonna
been
go. We're
putting
gonna go
engines
first
on tractors since
as
the
a
70s.
scientist,
Explain
right?
it, Jeremy.
Let's go to the Bob Lazar video that he's talking about, where the killing the hydrogen car, and we'll go to the claims that were made in the video because I've addressed this a couple times, and I want to go over it, you know, just clearly, real quick,
It's a good question.
right?
It's a good question.
So you watch the video,
It's gonna get heated.
right? Bob Lazar in the video, he claims, oh, how do you make lithium hydride? And he claims you need a particle accelerator. So that's the piece of scientific equipment. That's the piece of lab equipment that you need, according to Bob Lazar, to make lithium hydride. So
Okay.
what he's claiming that he's doing is using a particle accelerator to smash helium or nuclei together to create lithium, which is the next heaviest element up. Which you use a particle accelerator, you smash atoms together and you can create like other atoms. You know, they put like a cesium-5 target in there and they smash it with a bunch of high energy protons to create the element 115. Of course, if you read the element 115 article and you understand the research that went into making the element 115 and the particle physics. So this is essentially the particle science that Bob's trying to convey here. But he says that he's making it at this particle accelerator that he's got on his ground. Where did he get a particle accelerator? Well, turns out Bob Bigelow I paid for him to build this particle accelerator because he thought Bob Lazar's story was true and that Bob Lazar, you know, could, you know, create the element 115 if he had a particle accelerator. So he gave Bob money to make a particle accelerator. And then Bob made this car video claiming that he was using this particle accelerator to make lithium hydride for his hydrogen car videos. Okay. Turns out you can buy lithium hydride. Okay. And Bob Lazar runs a company that deals in, you know, United Nuclear, right? He deals in getting a hold of, you know, materials like this that are, you know, government regulated or whatnot. He gets explosives. That's what his company started in is getting explosives for people and chemicals and materials for manufacturing explosives that you can't get regularly. You can't just buy it directly from the chemical company. You have to be a supplier, a distributor, or a lab. So he created United Nuclear so he could be a distributor for labs and get access to a lot of these more hazardous materials, which, you know, you look up the material safety data sheet on lithium hydride, and then you fact check it against the information that Bob Lazar provides in this video. He said, you know, basically lithium hydride, he says that it's not dangerous, it's efficient and more safe, but like there's laws that are put in place as part of a conspiracy to prevent people from buying it, and that's just not
he
the
claimed
case.
it was a hydrogen sponge, remember? And then when you heated it up, it released the hydrogen, which would be ingenious.
Yeah, it's a way to store
theoretically.
hydrogen in a hydrogen tank, because hydrogen is really hard to store.
And no
because
one's
it's really
saying Bob
small.
Lazar's stupid. I think he's smart as hell. Absolutely, the guy's very freaking smart.
He knows some stuff, but
very
again,
smart, man.
his facts are wrong here, because in this video he claims that he's using a particle accelerator to create lithium hydride, which means that you can only create one atom of lithium with the particle accelerator. Okay. Lithium, normally we make lithium hydride. What we do is we mine lithium. We take mined lithium, raw lithium, and then we chemically process it to create the hydride. All right. To create that hydride sponge that can this specific form of lithium. So there's a process that's I won't get into because it's super complicated, but there's a process that they use to turn raw lithium, which they take out of the ground and mine in bulk, and then use to process and make lithium hydride. That's where it comes from. Okay. And so Bob Lazar claims that what he's doing is he's making the lithium in his particle accelerator, which one collision creates one atom of lithium per collision. So that means to create 1 mole, which 1 mole if we, according, you know, our chemistry knowledge, right? 1 mole, Avogadro's number, right? Let's go back to high school chemistry here, people. Okay, who don't understand this stuff. Avogadro's number is 10 to the 23rd. Okay, so that's how many atoms we need to create a usable amount of lithium for a fucking storage tank. 10 to the 23rd. So 10 to the 23rd. Let's get a mathematical, scientific concept of what 10 to the 23rd means, right? 10 to the 23rd seconds. Let's do 10 to the 23rd seconds divided by, you know, how many seconds in a year? In a year, right? This is how many seconds are in a year. All right, that's 31 million. Okay, 31 million.
A little under.
So that's 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. 10 to the 7th, right? That's 10 to the 7th power. Okay, we need 10 to the 23rd power. So if, assuming we had, you know, so 23rd compared to 7, right? So 23 minus 7 is 16, right? So 16 orders of magnitude. That's, we need 16 orders of magnitude. So 10 to the 16th is that many collisions per second is how many we need to make a usable amount of this in a year if we ran this thing for a year. Okay, just some basic, you know, calculation math. So Bob Lazar is not creating lithium hydride in his fucking particle accelerator, all right, as he claims he is in the video. Go watch the video, because he claims he makes the lithium hydride in his particle accelerator. But I just did the math. And he need to have a particle accelerator a hell of a lot more powerful than that. It would need to be doing this many collisions per second to make a usable amount of lithium hydride in a particle accelerator. Okay, that's not how lithium hydride is made. He's buying the lithium hydride off of another agent or getting it from a supplier or a manufacturer, and he's the distributor. That's his role in the whole business with United Nuclear.
If he's even using lithium hydride, man, we don't know for a fact he's saying that. I mean,
he's saying it. That's what he claims in the video. But lithium hydride, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
He's there with John Farad. If anybody doesn't know who John Farad is, that's
anyone who knows about the state of, you know, what hydrogen energy and research into hydrogen storage and hydrogen, you know, technology was back then.
Can I say something?
This was.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Back in the day, like in the 80s, I did go to college and took physics and chemistry. You could buy, back in the day, lithium aluminum hydride. Now, lithium hydride back in the day was actually a lower energy output for an explosive. If you added aluminum to it as a hydride, because the aluminum would also oxide, you could actually get a better explosion. Now, lithium hydride and lithium aluminum oxide, or lithium hydride, sorry, you could buy in the day from like Sigma. That was an off-the-shelf product. It was not like some wonder material that you had to create in a lab. This is ridiculous.
Has anyone verified that you can't really buy it?
No, you could buy it now. All right, shoot.
Yeah, because he said you can't buy it. I never looked into it.
No, you could buy any hydride right now.
Right.
Who like, is anybody like called over to, like, let's say Sigma Aldrich, and then like said, hey, listen, can I buy it like lithium hydride? Has anybody in your entire group looked over to the chemistry operation? Because in the day I bought this stuff, you could seriously take the stuff, throw it into a lake. It would light on fire as a firework because it was explosive when it hit any oxygen. Has anybody ever even looked this up?
No, it's interesting you're saying this. I don't know anything about it.
You don't need a particle accelerator to make lithium hydride. That's so seriously, ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, I asked a physicist about that, and he said it's ridiculous.
No, you can make the stuff in any organics setup. They make the stuff all the time. It's a dry powder, and you can buy it in a bottle.
Oh, by the way, Mike Church or whatever your name is, Jeremy is a physicist. He was freaking. You have no idea how smart Jeremy is, buddy. He was actually had colleges after him.
Hey, for the record, I'm not a PhD physicist, dude. I have a bachelor's degree in physics. Don't believe me. And I'm pretty good at math.
Call over to a salesman over at Sigma Aldrich and say, hey, listen, I want to buy lithium like hydride or lithium aluminum hydride, which is more explosive. And then you could just go ahead and just say, hey, listen, I want to buy this stuff, and how do I buy it? They will give you an actual CAS number, a CAS number, and then they will go ahead and just say, hey, listen, it costs this much.
This guy's an interesting dude. I never heard of this dude before. Hey, thanks for this post. Hydrogen fuel technologies. It's good we got some hydrogen, science people watching. So we got some people that I love when we get like real subject matter experts who know some stuff about some stuff and can share some real information.
I'd love to drive a hydrogen car.
I will check this out, dude. And hey, hydrogen fuel, man, if you want to, I'd love to get experts on who really know what they're talking about on here, so and can talk, reasonably and not get super upset.
Just call over to them. The entire idea of like having to produce lithium hydride.
This is the Church guy.
What'd you think of Mike Church, Lord Ludacris?
Is this Mike Church's website? Hydrogen.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I didn't go through it, but
I'll have to check this out because I would have brought you back on. I just had to mute you out because you were getting a little bit extreme. But I would have brought you back in, Mike. I don't know why you left, but I would have brought you back on. I just had to mute you out for a second while I made my point.
Can't take it
if like point counterpoint. It's like he made his point. I want to make my counterpoint without getting interrupted. So
let's just. I want to see Bob Lazar's degree,
I'll come back,
and then I'm good.
What is it?
I'm still waiting on Bob Lazar's degree and thesis from MIT and Caltech.
Yeah, man, I'll be good if you show me that. Then I'll be like,
man,
all right.
I'll never come on here again. I'll fucking never.
I listened to.
I will if you show me like a classmate, or if Bob Lazar were to come on for an hour, a Grand Royale, dude, like a whole interview with us.
I'd love to talk to him. I've had email correspondence with him.
It was Dan that broke my final string on Lazar with the Foggles, talking about the Foggles.
Yeah,
that was it was my last piece hanging on, and once that, I was like, that makes total sense. And everything.
Yeah, because he said he was brought right on the lake bed, right? And they had these things since the 70s.
Ed's the only one that ever talked about him.
Yeah, and they have them, obviously.
Yep. In 1998, Ed said, I'll never. This is Ed, a quote from Ed. He said, I will never, ever forget those damn things. He goes, no one ever forgets discomfort. He said, and I hated wearing those quote unquote fucking things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then the drive comes out.
I think you said that about it. I think maybe you had told me, Dan, that was, he hated going out there because he had to wear those goggles, but he also enjoyed going out there because it was going to get to see some really work on some awesome electronics and whatnot. So
Ed spent the entire summer of 1979 in Area 51. And he said he hated it. He said he just absolutely hated it. You couldn't go anywhere at night. You could go to Sam's bar and drink a little bit, but you're limited. Ed was a Vegas guy. He loved being in Las Vegas because he was at Nellis. He loved being there. He hated Area 51 with a passion. He said he absolutely hated it. just hated it. But he spent a
That's
good summer there. He was TDY there about 10 times, which is temporary duty assignment. Like, it's normally 30 days at a time. Absolutely hated it. One of Ed's best friends that I spoke to, I'm not going to mention his name, he's dead now too. He absolutely hated it. He said, I couldn't stand it there. The temperatures, everything. He did say they fed him very well. It was the best food he ever ate in his life.
Oh,
5-star food there, man. And that's come out too, since Ed said that on the drive not too long ago about the food that was at Area 51. Oh, TD Barnes said that too.
Yeah,
That's
he did.
It's come out recently. How the fuck
my
do you know all that? Because he was there.
dude, my ex-wife, her first cousin worked for Y12, and it took a year for her to get her clearance. And what she did was she worked on nuclear criticality. So she would go and visit the bombs and the different places, you know, the ones stored, and you know what would happen, you know, the leaks, all that stuff. But they put her in Las Vegas for training for 6 months to see if she would gamble, if she would get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
She was a straight Christian girl, so that wasn't an issue for them, you know, for her. But they would have people drop out of the program because they would, you know, be drinking too much each night. And it
And
might not
they
be
do
too
that on
much.
purpose. And there's, they do
Yeah.
that on purpose. And you know what the team is
Well,
called?
it's not even
The
like they're getting
assessment.
hammered. Like maybe they drink 3 glasses of wine every night at dinner. Like, okay, then that's, you know, that's a problem.
The
Like
team
she
that's
said,
called the
they
Yeah.
went into it
called a
that
treat
deep.
team.
They go
TRE.
into it mad deep, yeah. And if like they look into all your history, all this kind of stuff too, man. I got kind of worried.
Her
today.
kindergarten teacher was interviewed. Her people at her church, because she was very Christian-y, church, all that stuff. Yeah, they interviewed all of her teachers because she was in advanced classes, and so on and so forth. She was the youngest person ever to get the job that she got, and she signed a 3-year contract. And after that, she dipped. She said she hated it.
Now Bob Lazar, man, the guy's
So
gone on. He was in newspaper articles bragging about being a physicist. You know, like this is not the type of person that they hire for these careers and stuff. And it's interesting when you look into the type of people that they did hire and how they went about it and the real story behind it. You know, with T.D. Barnes talked about it. He said they actually they went down to like the level of they hired all guys that owned a boat and vacationed in the same area.
Yeah.
So they wanted them all to be like friends and have like a lot of similar stuff in common and really have like, you know, their own little clique and not have anyone out, you know, like
Okay.
they understood clique mentality because you get in a clique and you really want to be in your own little class and you don't let anyone else in, you know, when you're in that kind of a community. And that's essentially what they wanted to create, this little you know, private super intellectual research community of, you know, really capable engineers and scientists kind of guys who were, you know, also had like a kind of just a regular dude background where they vacationed and they all had to have stable families and all had to be married, you know, all these little things like down to these details. And then they basically bought out this lake property at this one lake out in Utah or something, and basically as part of the contract they gave them all summer homes there, so that when they weren't working at Area 51, they were all like in the same area, all hanging out together, you know.
that was what, TD Barnes?
Yeah, TD Barnes and a lot of these guys, you know, on the team roster for the Roadrunners Association and the guys that he was hired to work with, that the CIA put this special program of cadets together, you know, when they first opened this up to do a lot of this research, you know.
Right. I was making sure I wasn't getting this confused with something else, and my mind not be trying to meld two things that don't belong. But yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, well,
right there.
Project
By the way,
Oxford,
real
it
quick,
probably was a rotating.
I didn't know if any of these new were like put off, and all those guys are into the same.
It's
type
been a
thing or
rotating
not.
group of guys,
So I
man.
would be curious.
Jeremy,
Maybe
by
that's
the
what
way,
I read. Maybe they did do it.
Lord Ludacris, aka Chris, man, he's cool as shit, bro. If you ever want to have somebody on your panel, he's awesome, man. He's a good friend of mine. He loves Ed
Oh,
Fouché.
thank you, man. I appreciate that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Ed. We need to do a show about Ed.
Hey guys, thanks Chris Spaghetti and some of the other people that did the super chats. I haven't been keeping up on all of them. Emmy was another one that gave $5. Thank you. Watching Timcast. Yeah, Timcast. Dude, I got to get back on Timcast soon. It will happen. I can't wait. It'll be great. We're gonna go and cover some real stuff. I'm gonna get all my best shit together and really unload.
By the way, Mike Schratt's got a new YouTube channel. It's kicking butt right now. It's called Blue Room Media. Check it out. He's got some really cool stories on there. He puts a video out a night lately. It's pretty good.
Dude, he has so much stuff,
yeah, he
man.
does good work.
3 warehouses full of material.
Yeah,
I know. We got to really set him up.
I talked to him this morning. He's mailed me his book signed.
I'm making a trip out there this summer. We're doing it. We got to do
are.
a road trip part two, and that's got to be part of it. That's got to be part of it, man. We've been talking about this for a while now. We got to follow through. But yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say on the Bob Lazar lithium hydride stuff. If I'll check out this website that the guy posted there.
Chris, do you have any questions about Ed you want to ask me and Jeremy, dude? That would be cool to do.
Yeah, I would like to know about, when you talked about when you spent time out at Area 51 working on it was a satellite.
Yep. It was called
it was like a 1 gigahertz or something like that.
1 gigahertz processor.
Communication.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's called the Docile system. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was working on something else for the machine. He found some equipment that was inside the aircraft that was basically a hookup transponder to that other the other thing.
Well, it wasn't an aircraft. It was in a trailer, and it was called the Docile system. The direct orbital satellite connection link up or something like that. And they didn't tell him exactly what it was, but it had some automatic test equipment. They had to have a technician of level 4 out there. Now, what you have to understand is, a lot of people don't know this, Area 51 was under the auspice of Edwards Air Force Base, known as Detachment 3. Ed was stationed at Nellis. They didn't have a technician that was close enough by to go look at this thing. They're like, who do we have at Nellis Air Force Base who's been here before, who's cleared to come here? Ed was at the top of the list. I met a bunch of Ed's friends, and they were like, Ed was an absolute genius of electronics. And,
hey, can I see your phone for a second?
So Ed tests this process route, and to his shock,
make sure I don't look like an idiot.
Was it Jeremy? Was it 1 megahertz or 1 gigahertz, man? It was something completely insane.
Just show me like camera.
I think it was gigahertz, but it was, all this stuff was talked about in Ed's book, Alien Rapture.
Drop out. Just
what year?
Turn your camera on.
I believe in 80.
Do the reverse.
81, maybe. Because that had been there before. They had to have somebody cleared to come to. You just don't go to Groom Lake. You got to be cleared. And Ed had top secret with his SAT to come to Groom Lake because he had been there a number of times. They call Ed up. Ed comes out there. And
this book is like a fictional story with all these real, like, classified technology elements weaved into it. Like it was like all these fake. It was really bad writing, man, honestly. But it was like all these conversations, like, where it was just like these 2 military guys who worked on all this crazy shit would get together and then just brag about all the shit that they worked on versus each other,
Yeah,
and that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in real life, man. I've met some of these dudes.
Real life. No, seriously, I don't know what you guys are thinking, because Edwards is a test place. So if you go into the wrong place in Edwards, you're arrested.
No one went into the wrong place in Edwards. I said Area 51 was under
all of the stuff that we have coming out of Edwards as being a contractor place is contractor story. That's been the way it's been since the Cold War.
And Area 51 is a testing bed. Area 51 is nothing more than a proving ground, just like
thing.
Cuba.
It's exactly the same thing.
And there's no alien spaceships out there. I'm sorry, I don't believe that one bit that there's alien spaceships flying around there.
We don't even care about that.
Yeah,
that's an irrelevant idea.
Okay. It's disinformation to control the narrative.
Yeah, who cares? See,
a lot of
I really don't care about anything that's going on Edwards or, like, let's say what's going on Area 51. I have seen myself personally plenty of things that proves to me that our government has way better things that we even have seen. Just flying in the air. Just as is.
I guarantee you none of us disagree with that comment there.
So
can you exacerbate on anything you've seen?
Yeah, back in the day, no, I was up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, so the sun was on the other side of the planet. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, this orange light comes from the north. So it had to have been a spy plane.
Mm-hmm.
Another one catches up to it. They track about, like, in Idaho, that would be about 50% of the sky. And then from there, they change course once they track up. And then they head, like, towards Area 51. That had to have been a spy plane op.
How fast do you think it was? How fast do you think this was going?
Way faster than all of the satellites.
Could you hear it?
No.
See, that's another thing. They have sound cancellation too that no one knows about.
No, there's no sound. That height, there's no sound.
Oh, okay, because of how high it was. Okay.
Yeah, that was a straight spy, just regular tech spy plane.
Yeah.
Had to have been. And so that's fine. You see, that's just it. You see, these are the things that you see, and they're not like UFO, like like Crazy Town. Because we're going to see this stuff all the time. If you pay attention, you're going to see this stuff all the time.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Chris, were you saying something?
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I was just saying, I hear loud booms, like sonic booms, all over Central Florida all the time.
I believe
like
that.
every other day. Yeah, and it's, they do launches and stuff, and they tell you, but a lot of them are. See, the last 2-3 days on here, there were several phone calls, like to the police and all that stuff, the whole neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like sonic booms, basically.
Wonder if they're ramping up because of what's going on in Europe. Who knows?
I don't know. I thought, I just thought that maybe they were practicing.
Yeah, I always thought the satellite would eliminate the spy plane, but I don't.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they're just flying planes or whatever.
You know what I mean?
Still wild, because you can tell them. You can tell those sonic booms. So.
Dave, do you know? Are you near Area 51? Can I ask you? I know
it's way south of me.
What's that?
No, it's way south of me. I'm up in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, okay. I swear.
Yeah, no, I'm way north of that. Now, I've been through that whole area, down through Ely and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that big of a deal. It's basically there's just a bunch of people over there grifting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've never seen anything otherwise. I can see more in my town than what anybody that sees in their area.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking up at the sky in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's a shell game. I think they want people out there and avoid other places. There's so many other hidden bases. People.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. They could very well be doing everything over there that we actually think of.
Mm-hmm.
And just
it
go
just
ahead.
Amazes me that if Bob Lazar is telling the truth and it's all going on in Papoose Lake, man, why is that?
No, please. That guy is absolutely ridiculous.
It's so popular, man. It's just so out there.
Yeah, just sorry.
I had the anti-gravity booth at Alien Con, and we were asking everyone that walked by, like, how does anti-gravity work? And everyone's like, element 115, element 115, element. So it's just like, It's like such a
distracted.
program.
Well, no, we can actually
It's-
say element 117, and then just like, eventually somebody's going to go ahead and find element 117.
No, 131.
Man,
It's
It
135.
doesn't matter what it is.
come on, man. Bob Lazar has Cold War propaganda all over it. You know, I mean, we've got the flashy Corvette. We've got the guns. He shows them shooting his Uzi.
Yeah, dude, that was like the
Yeah,
Aldrich
man.
James
You got
story.
a lot
There's
of
elements of all this stuff. Wasn't
a lot of
Aldrich
Bob
James
Lazar.
driving the Corvette or the Ferrari around in Europe, and like when he's selling secrets to the Russians?
Okay, so
Yeah.
if I were to go ahead and tell
It's
you
crazy.
guys, you can go ahead and drive, like let's say a Ferrari around
Bob Lazar
Europe
broke my heart.
and pick up girls in your rich car.
Actually, it was Dan that broke my heart.
I love
Oh no, we break a lot of hearts around here, man.
You did, man. I was Team
Bob Lazar
Lazar. I
T-bones,
stumbled on
brother.
y'all.
I'm sorry,
three
man.
shows in, I was slowly hanging on. First show, I was like, nah, that's not right. Second show, like I'm holding on a little bit. Third show, I'm like, I'm on, it's I'm going to be pulled away by the hurricane if I don't hold on. Still trying to believe. And then that, once it went free, it was just like, damn.
I was upset too, man. He copied.
I wanted it so bad. It sounded so good.
He copied Billy Meyer's beam ship.
Naive. Yeah, I mean, he crafted it good. So then when I first started, I fought it for 6 months. I fought it. So, but
We all did.
So
We all did.
Save me money from buying those videos.
Yeah, man. The personality.
You know what
Bob
I mean?
Lazar is
Doing
like
all
the
that
perfect
nonsense.
actor, man. He's like
he
was
is,
cast for
He's
that
got a
role.
lot of charisma, man. He's got a lot of charisma. It'd be different.
He was
if he
cast
real
for that
ugly.
role, man.
He is.
If it
fucking
wasn't going to
perfect.
be Bob
It's like he was scouted out
it was going
and
to be
found for that
Bill
role.
Nye the Science Guy. For real, it would have been Bill Nye the Science Guy if it wasn't Bob
I mean,
Lazar.
what Dave's basically saying was,
He's
yeah,
better than
They
Bill
would've-
Nye, man. If Bob Lazar did a
Be very careful. No, seriously. I know for a goddamn fact, back in the 80s, you could buy like lithium hydride from Sigma,
Here we go.
and it was
Here we
not that
go.
expensive. It was actually fairly cheap. You could buy a lithium aluminum hydride, and it was far more reactive because the aluminum would also go ahead and oxidize if you gave it water. So you could technically take the stuff, chuck it into a lake, and it would blow up like a firework. And it was, if you had the aluminum with it, it was actually like a white spark off operation.
Come on, let's get more Lazar Pro people.
Come on,
here
we
and
gotta
make
get.
a point.
Yeah.
Come on here and make a point. Shut me down. Like that guy, other guy.
No,
tried
I
to
don't
do.
know. I don't.
And if you're out
really
there,
care.
dude, come back and shut us down. Like I want. Come on.
I'm going to mute myself for a little bit, Jeremy. I'll be back. I got to make a phone call.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
So anyway, as is. I'm not worried about it.
You go to the
because these
bathroom.
are all
There's a
the
few of
things.
us in here. We'll chat. You go on. Go take
Chris
your
can hold
piss.
the fort down.
All right.
Ludacris, Plaid, my boy.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
I'll hold it.
Join. Here's the link to join. I'll be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. Anyone?
All right.
wants to
So
join?
who all we got in this room right now?
Just me.
We got any believers? We got Bob Lazar believers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you believe? What makes you believe his story?
Nothing.
Nothing makes you believe it?
Nope.
So you don't believe it?
Nope.
Okay, so you don't believe it. I don't believe it either. So, well, shit. What is a good story that you do believe?
Well, I believe the story that
I'll
I
go-
actually went on a bicycle ride today, and it was okay.
I like the Lonnie Zamora case. You know the one down in
No.
whatever it was,
What
60?
is that? Shoot.
The Lonnie Zamora case?
All right. Can you actually spell that somewhat?
Lonnie, just Lonnie. Zamora, Zomera. I'm a horrible speller. And then do like UFO.
Oh, Sonora.
Sonora, yeah. I may have had it wrong. I
No,
apologize.
it's
I've had
okay.
a few beers.
Oh no, that's the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, have you actually?
Yeah, that's one of my. Yeah, that's one of
Oh
my
shoot!
favorite ones.
No. Can you actually see the chat?
I can't. No.
Okay. Good to go. All right. That's the Sonora stuff. Okay. Now, somebody I actually watch on a regular basis is a guy that lives down in Southern California. And he talks about this entire Sonora thing. The only reason why I watch him is because my dad went to art school back in the early 60s when he got out of the.
Are you talking about Walter? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you talking about Walter Bosley?
Yeah.
Bosley?
Yeah.
Man. I love. I catch all of his shows. He is an awesome person to watch.
Now, the only reason why I watch him is because when my dad was came out of Edwards in the early 60s, he went to art school, and the art school took him over to that area. And all of the stuff of the Germans that were going into that area in the whole San Bernardino, like going on out in the desert area.
Right.
That was because they were mining, and that was right after the Spanish-American War. And the art schools back in the 60s taught that stuff. And so I was
for sure. You need to link up with you need to link up with Walter for sure.
No, I'm good with Walter. No, it's just whatever. Walter's going to go ahead and do what he's going to do. I'm fine with that. He couldn't even look up how the art schools back in the day even understood that stuff. Like all of the art glass that was made back in the day, the Catholic churches, all of their stained glass came from the Germans from that area that went down to San Juan Capistrano.
That's wild.
Yeah, because they already had the technology in place and they didn't worry it.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jabba.
That's where I see you and Walter would be real good.
Guys, we're gonna wrap this up soon, man.
I just wanted
anyway,
to
have a good night, guys. Thanks for having me on. And no, I do not believe anything of going on with the S4 thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real thing. I think he made it up, man.
But, yeah. It's just money.
Yeah.
It's what people do.
Just money, yeah.
It's the only reason it's so
popular. Hey, Dan, what are you doing?
Dan's still there?
Dan?
Jabba, you got to...
Yeah, I'm here, man. What's up?
I had
much, man. What are you doing after this?
About Bob.
Jabba's got a question, and then we got Mark coming on here too.
Yeah, my question is: do you guys know what? Well, first, I had a dream about Bob Lazar where he was showing me the S4 hangars, and then for some reason, this is going to get a little vulgar. He
No, mind. All right.
No. I
get a little vulgar, and you had a dream. I already don't like where that's going. Sorry, I'm gonna shut it down right there.
I'll just put it in chat.
All right.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm gonna go make some food.
Well, Dan,
come back to you guys. Like what?
I'll holler at you, Dan. See if you're still up.
I'm sorry, man. We'll catch you later, man. I want to get. We gotta get some better guests on that have some more serious information and evidence, man. All right. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. I'd love to get Bob on and oh geez, this is just ridiculous. Thank you. And anyone wants to debate and have a serious debate, I'll go on anyone else's show anytime. And I'm done. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I think go check out Steve Cambion's channel too. He's I think did a stream tonight on Truth Seekers with this guy that pretty much, talked about all our research. They laid it out, a lot of it, more of it out than we did here. We had time for it. They covered a lot of stuff, man, and they did pretty good. Go check that out. And thank you for watching, guys. Have a good night. Thank you for the super chats, everyone, too, and take care. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Oh yeah, I did talk to someone recently. He said that he's an Air Force contractor. He said they signed lifelong NDAs where they can't ever talk about the stuff that they were involved in. So if Bob Lazar was really involved in one of the most top secret, government military research projects of all time, he would have had to sign lifelong NDAs, and that means he'd never be able to talk about it, and he'd be in jail right now or in Russia with Edward Snowden. So yeah, thank you and have a good night, everyone. Good night. Just want to end with integrity, and if you guys want to look up some real physicists, Bernard Hayes, a guy named Isaac Kemp with a Z from Wright State University, who's in federal prison right now for taking documents home. Those guys worked on real classified physics research. Bob Lazar didn't. Sorry. I wish he did, man. It would be cool if his story were true, but it's not. Have a good night.